Alright guys, so we are back working on this Yamaha T9.9 kicker. We're servicing this thing because it hasn't ran in 20 years, at least when I bought it. It's been running since. But we got to do some maintenance before we hook this thing up to the back of my boat. And we're going to be using this thing for fishing. And so today what we're going to be changing is the engine oil in the motor, and the gear oil, as well as the water pump impeller. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're working with today parts wise and kick this off. Here we have our 10W40 engine oil, at the gear case lube as well from Amazon. This is a Yamaha Lube, so Yamaha brand AW90. So this will be the gear oil. Got the gear oil pump with the Yamaha attachment. Most of these Yamaha engines will require a special attachment, so if you have one of these, you have to get a special attachment there. Here we have our seals for the plugs, I guess, in the lower unit, the drain and the fill plug. Here is the impeller replacement kit. I actually have to get this off eBay. I couldn't find an OEM one on Amazon. This was the last one that they had in stock. So we'll have to figure out how to get replacements of these going forward, but let's just take a quick look through the package and see what we have here. So this is going to be the little, what's it called, the locker metal piece that holds your impeller in place so it doesn't just spin around aimlessly. That way it moves with your gear shaft. This is the metal impeller housing. This is the actual impeller itself. These look like the bolts that probably hold the impeller housing in place. We got some new gaskets. Looks like upper and lower. The metal plates that goes underneath the housing. The good thing that I got these gaskets for the drain plug and fill plugs off the side because the kit didn't actually come with them. Not that I could see at least. This is a water seal. And on the parts list, this is actually called, the little metal lock is called a woodruff, a key woodruff. I don't know what woodruff means. The first thing that we got to do is, gonna start with the engine oil. We're gonna drain the engine oil. I actually have a pump, so I'm gonna do that. And before we do that, we're gonna run the engine a little bit, let it warm up, get that oil heated up so it leaks out better and more of it comes out. You want to do that with these heavier oils and boats as a best practice. Alright, so we're just going to let this motor run until it heats up, about 10 minutes. The engine has been warmed up. And we're ready to drain the engine oil. So I'm going to be using an oil pump. For those that don't have an oil pump, you can also just drain the oil. There's a plug right here. I'm not gonna do that because it's gonna get everything dirty. I'm on my dry weight. It's gonna roll down here on the lower unit, all over the propeller, and you gotta wipe that stuff off, and I just don't want to deal with it, so we're gonna pump it. Looks like we're sucking up air right now, so just the last bits of air are coming out. So it by pretty quick. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we're sucking this out of the, not the fill hole, but the oil level hole. That's what this Elise pump is designed to be used for. So let's just make sure everything's out. All right, it looks like we are good to go. And here we see it's just about a quart of oil. So we're just gonna do a quick check. There shouldn't be any oil in there, but we're gonna verify anyways. It's empty. What I think we should do is, even though the oil's all out, take out the drain plug Just make sure there's no metal shavings on it. We're not expecting any. Clean the drain plug, make sure the washer's good. Maybe let a little bit of that oil leak out. I'm gonna take off the drain plug right now just to check underneath using a 10mm socket. It's a Japanese motor. So we still obviously have a little bit left in here. It's looking pretty clean. There's a little bit of gunk in there. We're gonna clean that out right now. The gasket looks solid. Would be smart to replace it, but I didn't get one. So I'm actually gonna take a Q-tip and then kind of clean it out in there a little bit. It's very gunky in here. Hopefully you can see. Got a Q-tip right here. Got some parts cleaner. Just gonna spray this off really quick. Parts cleaner by itself already did a number on it. We don't want any of this old gunk flowing through our motor. Let's clean this off. Almost brand new. Looks much better. Clean that off a bit and get this thing started. Not too tight. It is a plastic housing. Now we just wipe off the motor, all this excess oil. I'm actually going to spray some parts cleaner here just to help it. Don't want this going into the Puget Sound. Alright, nice and clean. So now we fill the oil. We're going to take our oil fill cap off. Mine was actually kind of stuck on here, so I just pre-loosened it carefully with some pliers. Don't squeeze too hard because it's all plastic. Just in case you're wondering, what about the oil filter? These engines don't have an oil filter. They have a little filter screen installed in the motor. I don't know exactly where that is. I would guess that that would be somewhere right here. I'm not going to mess with it today, but it would be smart to just take it apart, make sure it works. Or it's going to work, make sure it's not clogged. We're going to put 1 quart in here and just kind of see what happens. See if we need more or less. Tip on filling oil, especially on these quarter ones, you flip it with this side being down, spout being up. It bubbles back a lot less. This is some heavy stuff. It doesn't flow like car oil does. We have the first quart in. Just gonna give it a few minutes, let it drain. It's heavy stuff, so it's gonna take a little bit, and then we'll test to see the level. In a few minutes, we're gonna test to see oil level here. Hard to see on camera, but from here, it's all the way up to about here, so that's actually pretty good. Let me just Google and confirm. This model, this is the T9.9 ELRS model. It's exactly at 1 quart. So perfect. And I'm happy with the level of oil there. So we're gonna leave it at 1 quart. We'll run it again. Let the oil warm up. We'll test it again in a bit. Off camera, I cleaned this thing out, make sure it's clean, and put it back. Now we are going to move to replacing the gear oil and the water pump. First thing we're going to do is remove the lower drain plug. It's going to be located right here at the very bottom, right below your propeller. It's on there good. Oh wow, it's really on there good. Let me find something else. I'm not trying to ruin the threads on this bolt. That would not be good. So we are going to see if we can just ratchet it out from here. See if this one's the same way. Nope, this one's good. I have to heat it up a bit. Not what I wanted to do, but I don't want to break the bolt. All right, see if that helps. There we go. We're gonna let that cool off. Not what I wanted to do. I really don't want to burn this paint, but it was on there pretty good. We're gonna take off this plug now. This gear oil is brand spanking new, but it's been in here for 20 years. So that's the bottom one. And we're going to take the top one off right now. Interesting that these bolts are exactly the same. Usually the bottom one's supposed to have a magnet on it. You can see here, not milky, so no water's getting in here, which is awesome. So we're going to go ahead and let this drain for a little bit and come back in a minute. So it's just about done draining. A few drops here. We're going to reinstall the oil level fill plug and the drain plug first. We're going to replace the gaskets on them and then fill the lower unit with gear oil once we're done with the impeller. I'm going to close the first one off first, especially when you're filling it. This is going to create an air gap in there. I'm going to do this without dropping in the oil below. So now that oil is kind of trapped in there. Everything that's dripping is just what's already been dripping. The gasket from this lower bolt, you see, I don't want to go any further. I already kind of started stripping it, and you don't want to do that. Wipe all that stuff off. You guys can see this oil is in pretty good condition. Nothing white. White would indicate that there's water getting in here. Not a good sign. So we're looking good. The first thing we need to do is disconnect the shift linkage. So the motor's in neutral. You want to make sure it is in neutral so the linkage isn't engaged in gear, or else you're not going to be able to take it off and put it on in the right way. If you take a look closer, this is the shift linkage. There's this upper bolt right here and then a lower one that secures it. Those are two 10mm size bolts there and nuts, and so we're going to grab 2 wrenches and disconnect the 2. So that just took me a minute to figure out. So essentially what you want to do is hold the lower one in place, and you're screwing the top carriage bolt. That top carriage bolt, whatever that is, it goes pretty deep in there, and so it's just hard to video that. I didn't have space to get in there, but it's all the way kind of up inside the housing, and so this gear shift linkage is now disconnected. So now we are going to disconnect these bolts. We have 1, 2, and then another 2 on the other side. This is a size 12mm, using a 3/8. Just gonna loosen these first to make sure we don't have nothing rusted. Come out here to the other side for the other 2 bolts. This 3/8 long socket is a little bit too long. I'm not going to be able to get it out of there. So let me transition to a 1/4 size with the short socket. It's gonna give me some working room here. So we got the first bolt out. These bolts have never been taken off. I mean, you could look at the paint here. It's my scratch marks on these bolts. So this is the first time that this impeller is getting changed, which just furthermore proves to me that this motor is brand new. Honestly, I think it has less than 20 hours on it. And the impeller on it, you might see from my first video, it works pretty good, but it's been sitting around for 20 years. And it's time to change it. So I'm taking off the bolt that's closest to me last, so it's easier for me to kind of hold and guide this lower unit down. I'm going to loosen it up a bit just so it's not super tight. It looks like it's pretty darn good. It doesn't look like this lower unit's trying to fall off either, which is awesome. So we're just gonna work these bolts. Okay, all 4 bolts are off, so we're going to just slowly take this off. Overall, I mean, this thing looks pretty darn brand new. And then the 4 bolts that I said, I think those are for the impeller housing. Those are the ones we're going to be putting in brand new. So I don't have a little stand for the lower units, but I have a bucket, and we're going to use a bucket, or it's a repurposed trash can, and we're going to get this thing taken apart. All right, got that one loose. 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 Nice. Okay. So we're going to just take these off now. Definitely some corrosion on this, so this has definitely been in the sound. But not a lot. Okay, so there's these 2 little brackets that go on the side. There's one here with this is to my side right, but the left side of the lower unit. There's going to be one on the right side, so we're going to keep the brackets. I don't think that those came with the replacement kit. Looks like it's on there pretty good. Let's see if we can figure out a way to get this unstuck. Pry it out with a screwdriver. We're going to be replacing the gaskets anyways, and so I'm not too worried about messing up a gasket, and that did the trick. So we're going to slide this on, off, and so one thing to remember is your impeller placement, and so we can see that this is going, if I'm looking at it from the front of it, it's going to the right, and so when we put the new one in, all of these are going to have to be spinning to the right. I just want to show you guys this impeller. Now it looks like it's in pretty good condition, but just look at all this gunk. That's not good. That's whatever that is. Looks like maybe some sort of preset corrosion or something, but all of that's being pushed through into your motor. It's take off this first gasket. Let's take off this impeller. Right here we have the key and the impeller. Take this off. The impeller has this little slot, and so when we install it, it's going to have to go over the key because the key is what actually makes it spin. Just looking at this, we see that there's quite a bit of rust here. I mean, nothing too crazy. The impeller itself isn't cracked, but it is sticky, like skunky sticky. I'm gonna take this key out. Got this key out. All right, so we're gonna just make sure we remember the position and placements of our metal plate here. Looks to be stuck on there pretty good. Okay, just got the plate off. One of these guide poles, whatever they are, came flying off, so we're gonna put that guy back in, and then we're gonna take off this other gasket. These look to be exactly the same to me, both gaskets, which would make sense. So now we're left with some of this old gasket material. We're going to take an old chisel and just try to clean it off as much as we can. It's going to allow the new gasket to sit flush. Obviously, minimize any scratching to the surface here. It's not great. Try not to get the gasket stuff all over inside either. I just had a piece fall in there. We got most of this stuff out. It's not perfect, but we're also not mechanics, as I like to say. Now there is some rust here in this housing right here. This is where one of the guide poles or shafts, whatever they're called, sits. I think what we're gonna do is just get a little dab of good old marine grease so they sit in place better, and so that they don't rust in place. Obviously don't want all of this grease to be under the gasket, so I'm just doing the best I can to wipe it off, whatever squeeze out of the sides. So now we're going to take a new gasket, and so pretty easy to tell which way it's supposed to go because it won't go on if you have it flipped upside down, and so this lighter blue stuff is going on the bottom. That's where it's more adhesive-y, I think, and then this tie-dye looking stuff is going on top. Same thing with this. If you try to install it like that, it's not going to fit, so it's pretty hard to mess that up. I'm going to put this metal plate back on. On the on this unit, there's these two bolts, screws, sorry, that you gotta take off. And then the water seal housing sits right here. See? So we are going to replace this really quick. Gonna put it back here in the housing. Let's get the impeller housing replaced. So we're gonna see how easy it is to take this out of the existing housing. So from here you can at least see the edge of the housing. It's probably hard to see on camera, but we're gonna just try to push on this downwards. That's how you do it. So let's grab a pair of pliers and just get this out of here. This does have like a little tab here, which helps keep it in place. There's a little slot right there. So we're gonna put it back the way we found it. See if I could just use the concrete floor to fully set it. Much better. Okay, so this housing is now in here. Essentially, we're just putting this thing back together. Now we got to put this little key in place. Once again, we're going to use a tad of marine grease. That's a little bit more than a tad, but what are you going to do? It's tiny. And the marine grease is just going to help us keep it in place. So here on the new impeller, so this is the side that's going to go down. You see that little notch. And so we are going to slide this down over the top of that key that we just put on. Gonna come back here from the back side and just make sure that it's aligned. We're going to put a little bit of grease here inside of this housing, and as we're going to be putting this on, we're going to be spinning the gear shaft this way, so then the impeller faces to the right, which is the direction of which it was facing when we took it off. You definitely don't want to make sure it's you want to make sure it is not going the opposite way, so that way it pumps water up to your motor correctly. So we're going to just, in here, just add a little bit of grease, apply it just around the housing, and then wipe everything off the bottom, so you can kind of see how it's nice and greased. Awesome. So now let's get this this guy installed. Get this in there. Get this installed in position. Get it seated correctly again. Try to do where you guys can see it, so we can get these two screws in it. Almost forgot. Okay. Get this guy on her. Oh gosh, we might have had to do that before we put the impeller on. Learning mistake, and that's why we're learning together. Okay, it's seated on there well. So it gave me 4 new bolts to use. What I don't like is that these bolts don't have the washer on them. They're the same length. What I'm actually going to do is just reuse the original ones. I'm going to clean them out. I'm going to put some marine grease on each one so they don't corrode in there. And next time I take this off, I don't have to worry about them snapping. Okay, so we have these 2 brackets that we got to put on top. And then we're going to take a little bit of grease and just apply it to the bolt. Sweet. Let's go ahead and tighten these on. Hey, remember this is plastic housing. Know your strength. Okay. So then the last 2 things that we have left to install are these 2 gaskets for the bolts. Next thing that we're going to do is we are going to just apply a little bit of marine grease here to the top of the gear shaft. It's going to allow it to slide in a little bit better. Make sure there's no corrosion. So the next thing is going to be to get this guy installed. Let's go ahead and do that. This thing actually needs to be rotated a little bit. Okay. All right. She's in. So on that, I believe that's the exhaust pipe or whatever it is. It's tilted off a little bit to the side, and so best practice is to just look inside there, make sure everything's aligned how it's supposed to go, and you're Gucci. It's pretty easy impeller replacement. This is my second, I guess third time ever doing impeller replacement. First time on an out drive, and then I've done one on my Bayliner with the 3.0 in there. That one kind of sucks because you have to take off the lower unit there too. It's just a lot more work. Changing the impeller on the Volvo, I think my first boat I had a 5.7 Volvo in there, Penta. That was actually pretty easy. So interesting, the more you know. Got these 4 bolts in, so let's go ahead and get them tightened down. Okay, I'm gonna get one of the rest of the Okay, now we need to connect the gear shift linkage. It's just that this 10mm wrench, it doesn't fit in there, and my fingers don't fit in there. but you know what fits in there? Needle nose pliers. Looks like I got that going. This at the bottom here. Oops. Pull the lower nut and then tighten this bolt. Okay, that's done. Now we have to get the gear lube oil back into a lower unit and change out our gaskets for the drain and fill plug. So now we're putting in the Yamaha adapter lube pump. Make sure you have one of these on here. This one came with it. If you don't, put a zip tie on or something, because I've had one before without one and it slides off pretty fast. So anyways, now we pump until we start seeing some oil draining from the top. We have some flowing out of here now, so we are done pumping. We're going to prepare our top bolt first. This is going to cause airlock, and so when I take out this bottom one, there's going to be a lot less that drains out. So we're going to get this bottom one ready, and gotta rotate the bottle with it, but whatever. Okay, and we're okay with a little bit draining out. Can drain from the very top, that means it's max, and so this little bit draining is not going to shouldn't cause any concern. All right, wipe everything off. Got a good stream going. Impeller's working good.